Hey, welcome everybody, Rob Pavancha here. So the question of the hour is, can you make it in your own photography business? And I believe you can, but it's not like it used to be. Back in the old days, if you had some technical experience, because there was a lot of technical demands, and if you had some equipment and you were ballsy enough to open up your own place, get a card, some business cards, and yada yada yada, join the associations and learn some marketing, you could do okay. I think your odds were far better back then in that respect. But nowadays, I think what's changed is the wizard's out of the bottle, the genie's out of the bottle. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. So now you have to, I think we had it easy back in those days. Now you have to run it like a real business. And here's why. The whole industry of photography is terribly watered down. I'm not saying that in a bad sense. It's just a reality. Everybody's a photographer now. And if you have an iPad, you have a camera, you're a photographer. So they don't perceive us as professionals. So it's our job as a marketer to create a product that's going to stand out. But that's not enough. That's really not enough. You got to do consistent, steady marketing and publicity and all that good stuff. And you got to stay on top of that ball game continuously, non-stop. So it's a business, and you have to take that approach. And I think business is the greatest self-improvement program in existence. And I actually just mentioned that to a friend the other day who was complaining about some struggles he was having with his little shop. He has a little restaurant, and I said, yeah, welcome to the world. And he's new at it, and I said, this is the greatest self-improvement program going, is being in business. And it's funny because I just read something the other day. I don't even know who wrote this, but here it is. He's writing, this is the intro to a book on Bruce Barton. Apparently Bruce Barton's quite the guy. He died in '68. He was born in 1870, so he had a long, prosperous life. Not too many people know of him nowadays. He fell through the cracks, but apparently he had a lot of respect and credibility. Anyways, this guy, the title of this little paragraph is called The Ultimate Guru. Business is a great teacher. It makes you take risks, go for your dreams, face fears, handle your emotions, deal with difficult people, and learn balance. You can add a bunch of other stuff to that, like it forces you to learn math, accounting, and self-discipline, yada, yada, yada. He continues, you don't have to do any weird workshops or sign up for any therapy sessions. Go into business and you'll be enrolled in the greatest seminar of all time. And it happens every day, everywhere, to everyone. You cannot avoid it. I totally believe that. Anybody in business, you will not be the exception to the rule. Trust me on this one. He continues, though I've done self-help retreats, meditation, walked on fire, and hunted for my inner self, nothing ever compares to the day-to-day challenges of being in business. It's the ultimate guru. So that's the core problem and challenge, and actually it's the core solution to anybody wanting to get into their own photography business. You got to treat it like a business. So you've got to take on marketing, and you've got to take on basic business principles. And on that note, I just want to add a little commentary to some stuff that I've personally experienced in my life. I was fortunate enough as a very young man, as a child. My father was in business even though he went bankrupt. My grandparents, my grandfather, and a lot of my uncles. So I saw it. I grew up with a lot of people in my family. That's what you did. You went into business for yourself. Although all of them were small business owners. Nevertheless, it's still the same. There's probably a lot more going for a small business. I mean, running a mom and pop photography studio, and if you're crushing it, man, it's a good feeling. It's an amazing thing. So life is really good. But don't get lazy. Don't make the mistakes, and don't fall prey to what it is I'm about to explain to you, the things that I've noticed in business. There seems to be this thing, and I remember hearing this when I was a kid. There are no friends in business. So if you, yeah, just look around, you'll hear the stories. Friends, it's hard. So I suggest you go alone or go with your spouse. The spouse is the exception to the rule. It's very hard to even go with family, siblings, and what have you, or friends. I remember a story I read somewhere last year. This guy he hung out with a billionaire friend of his. They were really good friends. They played tennis all the time. And this guy, he was playing tennis, and he asked him about doing a real estate deal together. And the guy just stopped playing. He went up to the net. He said, come here, I want to tell you something. Before you continue with what you're about to ask me, I want you to make a choice. I want you to either choose the business opportunity that you're about to pitch me, or choose this friendship. Which is it going to be? He made the point, because there are no friends in business, and he decided to drop it right there. So that's important to understand. But more so, it's important to understand that it generally takes 3 to 5 years to get a business really established and going. And here's what I've noticed, and here's where I think many people fail. You start into business. The first year is pretty epic. It's really, really exciting. It's cool. It's like, wow, we're doing it. And especially if it starts to work out. Every sale, every day, every week, every month is an excitement and a journey. If it's not, you're in the wrong business, or you should be working for somebody else. If you're not willing to show up and put in long hours every day, you should not be in business for yourself. So the thing that I've noticed is, because it's so exciting, you feel so connected to it, it's not a big deal. You don't even notice the time. So if you're stuck in that employee mentality of 40 hours a week, you got to kind of wash that away. But the fact that you're in business for yourself seems to take care of that. So the first year, that's the epic year. Second year, you're starting to get some traction. You're making some progress. Things are working out. You can't believe your eyes. This is working out. It's like unbelievable. By the third year, this is where things start to get a little bit dangerous. It's different for everybody, but I've noticed that around the fourth and fifth year, so right after the third year, you start to believe that you have these special powers and that you can do no wrong and you are the anointed one. So in other words, your ego gets in the way and you start to make stupid mistakes. Now, if you happen to be in a business where you're working in a vacuum, let's say you're selling plumbing supply parts, and nobody in your area is going to compete against you, and there's a steady demand, maybe a growing demand for plumbing supply parts, and it just, you just show up every day, and that's, some businesses are like that. They're kind of boring, but you make a lot of money. A lot of businesses, though, things change in the industry, and that's where the problems start. It certainly did for photography. So around the 3 to 5 year part, that part in our history, that phase, we decide that we can do no harm, we have these magic powers, and we make some stupid moves. One of the ways I see these moves manifest is through taking on extra expense. You're making so much money, and it's carrying all your expenses, and you sort of max it out, and you just walk a fine line, anticipating and sort of making the mistake that money is going to constantly be there, and that's where the mistake is. So you might go out and buy a brand new car. You might buy an $80,000 Beamer or whatever, or you might buy a bigger house, and your lifestyle increases, and that's a really bad mistake. See, what happens is, if something changes and you're walking a fine line with your expenses, all of a sudden it gets to be very crushing, and it becomes a source of stress. You don't want that. I heard back in the 80s, somebody told me, or I read it somewhere, that the average bankruptcy was over a $25,000 average debt. I was like, wow, $25,000, that's nothing. If you're going to go bankrupt, might as well go bankrupt for $1 million or something crazy. But whether or not it's true, I think it's close to true. And nowadays, the numbers are probably, well, from what I've noticed, this is what I've noticed from people that I personally know, the average bankruptcy is around 80 to 100,000, so which is almost equivalent to 25,000 in 1980s dollars. So what happens is, after about the 5 to 7 year mark, we don't make the changes, we don't answer the call, and we make stupid mistakes. So you want to be very, very careful with that. You want to really check your ego at the door when you're running a business, and you want to constantly learn from your mistakes and learn from your experiences, whether they're mistakes or not. It doesn't matter. You want to put money away. Money can be your worst, well, I think it is, because in business it's all about money. Money is the scoreboard. It's like a basketball game. There's a scoreboard. There's two teams and there's a scoreboard. The person with the highest score wins. So in business it's the same idea. The scoreboard is money. Do you have money in the bank? Do you have assets? So if you take your assets away by making bad mistakes, you're creating a lot of self-induced stress. Now, the opportunity is to grow and become a better person. Now, I know some people in business are dicks. You see them. But I'm not talking about them. You know, you don't have to be a dick when you're in business. And who knows, the people that are dicks, that maybe they're doing some good stuff that we don't see. But for the most part, I don't believe the majority of them are. Those are the ones that sort of make the most noise and then give everyone else a bad name. So what happens is, when you're growing your business, you will be forced to expand yourself in many ways, financially, through dealing with others, through being a better leader, a better communicator, all sorts of things. And it's actually a wonderful thing if you stay focused, if you stay on the right track. So I believe you can make it in the photography business, but it's not as easy as it used to be. I believe you can make it if you have a good product and if you are willing to make good offers, you know, not just open your doors and say, here I am, and expect people to figure out what it is you have to offer. You have to get out there in the marketplace and make offers and promotions continuously in order to play the game. So, and watch your expenses, man. Watch your expenses. So, and I think that the large part about running a photography business for most successful studio owners that I've noticed is, do they like you? They gotta like you. People buy from people they like. And when it comes to picking between two, they're gonna pick the one that they like the most. So you wanna be the one that is likable. And that goes back to what I was talking about. Being in business is the greatest workshop ever. It's the greatest self-improvement program ever. So why not be more likable? That's a great way to self-improve, isn't it? So it's certainly been my experience, and it's certainly something that I think is a challenge that is worth the call. If you're feeling the call to that adventure, get your expectations in check, be realistic, and be willing to, you know, like Woody Allen said many, many years ago, the key to success, 95% of success is showing up. All things being equal, where you got a good product and you're likable and all that good stuff. So you got to put in your time, and what happens is when you put in your time, opportunities will present themselves. They may not be what you expected, but there's your opportunity to learn and grow. Or some shitty things might happen. Every shitty thing that happens to you is an opportunity. It's like what Napoleon Hill said, each and every adversity has the equivalent in opportunity for growth. The equivalent or greater. So anyways, that's what I got to say about that. So hopefully I've given you something to think about. Thanks guys. Bye for now.